On today's episode of the show, we are answering the question, do you need to weigh every single fucking morsel of food in order to lose weight? Because let's face facts. If you had to weigh every single thing that passed your lips, then I don't think that you would enjoy life quite so much. It would be a little bit of a cockache, let's be honest. It would feel obsessive, maybe a little bit over the top. You would see it as, this is only for complete fucking bodybuilding weirdos that this needs to be a thing for. But let's actually answer the question logically. Do you actually need to do it? Or even, is it a case of, is it even worthwhile you even considering? Now, there are some coaches out there that will tell you it's the only way for you to lose weight, that you have to be strictly controlling every single thing that you eat in order for you to be able to lose weight. Well, because they got fucking ripped as shit doing it that way, so therefore it must be the way that everyone on planet Earth has to now go about losing weight. Now, what a fucking dumbass and useless approach that would be, because everybody's different, right? You're different to me. If I weigh stuff, cool. That might not be right for you, and that's cool too. Because the truth is, there isn't one guaranteed, hard and fast set of rules that are going to work for everybody in order for them to lose weight. The only thing that is universal is that you need a calorie deficit. How you achieve that calorie deficit is hugely nuanced by person, by what works for you, what your food preferences are, versus what your personality type is. You might be someone who is very data driven, likes to look at the weights of things, likes to look at the calories of things, and likes to have that sort of level of control. That might make you feel happy, might make you feel comfortable. Whereas you might be the complete opposite of that. And you might feel that that is just too restrictive. It's kind of a bit of a ball ache. It doesn't make you happy. It just kind of drives and grinds you down over time. So the real answer to the question is, let's say right up front, is that you do not need to weigh everything in order to lose weight. You don't even have to weigh anything to lose weight. But it is one method, and in certain situations, it's a very fucking good method. Now, so you don't even have to track everything, let alone weigh everything. But again, all of these things are different methods. Right for some people, right for some situations, not right for all. But there are some benefits to weighing your food. So let's not throw everything out with just the broad brush thing that it's for obsessives, that it's for the compulsive bodybuilders who just want to track everything. There is actual benefit to it because there are a ton of foods that you can very, very easily overeat on. And if you're not controlling them, then they could be the reason why you don't create that elusive calorie deficit and you never end up losing weight. Let's take one example, the humble nut. Everybody loves a nut or two or three or four or a handful. And if you're measuring shit by eye, they are one of the foods, there are many others, but let's just use this as an example, that you can very, very easily consume a lot more calories than you realize because you're not weighing it. Now, I did a post on Instagram that showed you basically 2 handfuls of nuts and asked you what was the calorie content of each one and what was the weight of each one. Now, actually, just the way I cupped my hand meant that I could have almost double the amount of almonds in one picture versus the other. And that led to a more than 240-ish calorie, I think, difference between the 2 handfuls. So if I said to you a handful of nuts, then that handful is going to be hugely variable. And 240 calories is quite a lot of a difference, especially if that is just, okay, well, one particular food there, but if you've got other foods that are equally the same that could be very, very open to interpretation, but also calorie dense, then that could be an issue and could cause you to not be in a calorie deficit. For example, let's use another nut variation. Look at peanut butter. If I said put a thin layer of peanut butter onto your toast or whatever, That's hugely open to interpretation of what a thin layer is. Even if I said a tablespoon, is it heat? Is it flat? Again, it's hugely open to interpretation. And because that food is so calorie dense, then a little bit of leeway over or under can make a huge difference to your calorie intake. So by eye, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For example, like when you're talking about vegetables, which are very low calorie, do you need to weigh those? Probably not in most scenarios, because it's so immaterial to the actual calorie content of your overall diet that you're very unlikely to overeat on spinach, for example. So do you need to weigh all your fucking spinach? Probably not. Just say, okay, well, about a handful in there and a handful in there. Kale, all that sort of shit, broccoli, blah, blah, blah. When you get into sort of root vegetables, again, they have slightly more calories, then maybe it's worth tracking those, possibly. Again, until you may be into the stages of dieting where things are a little bit more difficult, i.e. you've lost quite a lot of weight, you haven't got that much more to lose, your body fat levels are quite low, then maybe you're going to have to track much more stuff. But weighing provides that accuracy, that sense check. Again, if you're someone who is saying, well, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm not losing weight, then it might be a case of saying, well, okay, let's weigh everything that you're eating for a couple of days and let's really see how much you're eating. And then let's see, okay, is it a case that you're maybe misreporting? You think that you're eating a handful of nuts, which is 30 grams, where actually it's fucking 75, and you didn't even count the slack handful you had before they went back into the cupboard. Now, so those tracking periods for a short period of time can give you that sense check, can give you that rebalance on what it is you're actually eating. Now, you can still track without weighing as well. Now, that kind of seems a little bit counterintuitive. So how do you track if you're not weighing stuff? Well, you can think about things like in terms of packets and sizes. And this is like one way that I try to, for certain people, help them build a meal plan or a approach to dieting that's going to work for them. Now, this is a way of looking at food in terms of not their weight, but other forms of measurement that you can then still use in, for example, MyFitnessPal. So let's say, for example, let's say rice. Rice, you can weigh it, obviously, but you can also get pre-packaged rice that comes in packets that you put in a microwave for a couple of minutes and boom, you've got some nice tasting rice. Easy to do, easy to maintain, and easy to prepare. Now, if I said to you, put half a packet of that in one meal, cool, haven't had to weigh anything. I just judge half a packet by eye and put the other half a packet in tomorrow's lunch. Again, okay, over the course of 2 days, I've eaten a packet's worth of rice. And again, you can track that in MyFitnessPal. You just put in half a packet. There'll be a thing in there that says 1 packet, half a packet, it'll be in grams, whatever, choose half a packet. When it comes to things like an avocado, you can, instead of like weighing it, you can say, well, okay, I've half an avocado. Again, you can still track that in MyFitnessPal as half an avocado. When you're looking at snacks and shit like that, again, like when it comes to popcorn, bag of popcorn, less than 100 calories, boom, track that. When you think about chicken breast, half of a raw chicken breast. Again, like the variances between a chicken breast are going to be not huge, not great. Again, okay, if it was like hugely out, you had one fuck off steroid ridden chicken that had this sort of mega breast that was fucking oodles of calories bigger than this small little fucking chick that you had, then yeah, there could be a difference. But on average, consistently over time, that shit's going to average itself out to half a chicken breast is going to roughly be speaking the same thing each and every time. So you can think about your tracking in those kind of contexts. You don't necessarily have to weigh everything. And maybe it's the case you take that like hybrid method of saying, well, okay, well, I'm going to have half a chicken breast here, I'm going to have half a packet of rice, blah, blah, blah. By the way, I'm not suggesting you create this fucking bro meal of half a chicken breast, half a packet of rice and half an avocado. That's like a fucking shit meal. I'm just giving you some examples here. And you could say, well, I'm going to track those packets and sizes, but then when I have nuts and things like that, That's what I'm going to weigh. I'm going to weigh the shit that really could take me off plan. There you go. There's a kind of a hybrid method that you can use. But when you kind of then, if you go down the route of saying, well, okay, I'm going to go down like that packets and sizes route for everything, it just requires a little bit more thought. It requires a little bit more planning to say, well, okay, well, I'm going to have foods that come in these sorts of quantities or these sort of packets and things like that. You're going to have to plan a little bit more. That might take a little bit of a thought process. And then, of course, you can completely switch to non-tracking methods in order for you to lose weight. Because like I said at the very, very beginning, you don't even need to track calories to be in a calorie deficit, let alone weigh your food. So it could be a case of intermittent fasting helps you to create a calorie deficit simply because by taking out one meal from your day and not adding those calories elsewhere in the day, your natural food choices mean that you create a calorie deficit. It might be that you are someone who gets on well with lower carb. So you don't necessarily eliminate carbs totally, but you lower carbohydrate intake throughout the day. You don't replace it with other sorts of calorie dense food, and therefore you create a calorie deficit. You're just eating normally, as in what you feel like eating, but you're conscious that you're trying to keep carbs low, or you're conscious you're trying to eat within a certain time frame. And therefore you're creating a calorie deficit without actually counting anything, without actually weighing anything. But even in those scenarios, again, if you are having those foods which are very calorie dense, which are easy to overeat without realizing, maybe then it's good to weigh those particular foods. But overall, it comes back to that old adage of finding what works for you in the right situation at the right time. Sometimes it might make sense for you to weigh. It might make sense for you to weigh very early on, even if it's for just a few days, to really get a judge for portion sizes, to get a judge for, well, okay, what does actually a 220 grams of raw chicken actually look like? What does 30 grams of nuts actually look like? What does 40 grams of oats actually look like? So you then can start to see, well, actually, fucking hell, I was well overeating on that. That's why I wasn't in a deficit. It can be useful from that point of view to teach you about calories, to teach you about what actually foods contain in terms of quantities versus calories. That's always quite good. And it also can be wherever you are in your journey, keeping a check on those foods that could take you into a calorie surplus and take you out of a calorie deficit. So the answer to the question, do you need to weigh your food in order to lose weight? The answer is no, you don't. You don't even need to track calories to lose weight, but these are all methods that may well help you if you're in that sort of situation where weighing a little bit more tighter control, even of just certain foods, might help you maintain your calorie deficit, stay on track, keep the motivation going, and keep progressing forward towards your goals. So again, find what's right for you and do that consistently. So I hope you found this episode of the podcast useful. If you did, come and chat to me on Instagram as usual at iron_paradise_fitness. Let me know what you thought of the episode, and feel free to let me know if there's any questions I haven't covered that you want answering on a future episode of this show. And also, if you want some more free fat loss information, articles on building muscle, and maybe you want to download my free beginner training program plus nutrition guides and all that cool shizzle, then go to ironparadisefitness.com, download it for free right now. I'll even put a handy link in the show notes because I'm a good fucking guy like that. But thanks so much for listening. Keep living the lean life, and I'll see you for the next episode of the show.